Hello guys. In this video we will talk about the eukaryotic cell. The eukaryotic cell are cells that contain a nucleus and organelles and are enclosed by a plasma membrane. Organisms that have eukaryotic cell include protozoa, fungi, plants, and animals, and these organisms are grouped into a biological domain, eukaryota. Um, we will talk about the structure and function of the eukaryotic cell. The first is there is the nucleus, control center of the cell. The nucleus can be seen as the core of the cell that regulates all the important functions of the cell. It contains most of the cell's genetic material in the form of DNA. DNA is very important for the cell, as it renders all the instruction needed for a cell to function. These DNA molecules are called up like chromosomes and float around in pairs through liquid inside the nucleus. The function of the nucleus is to keep the DNA intact and to control the activities of the cell's organelles by regulating the genetic expression. Nucleus. It's like in the heart of nucleus lays the nucleolus, which is a dense spherical structure composed of proteins and nucleic acids. Its main function is to form ribosomes. The nucleus, including the nucleolus, can be thought of as the conductor of an orchestra. For example, this is the example of the function of nucleus, including the nucleolus. This nucleus controls the functions of the organelles in a similar way as that conductor does in an orchestra. He makes sure that everyone is playing with the right intensely and in the rhythm. Hence, there is a beautiful harmony created, or put in physiological terms, the cell is functioning due to all the organelles working together to keep the cell alive. Next is the endoplasmic reticulum. Complex network of tubes and membranes, sacs for manufacturing and transporting proteins. There is the rough ER, endoplasmic reticulum, and smooth ER. And we will first go through the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The primary function of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, or ER, is the manufacture and fold proteins into their final useful configurations, protein synthesis. The proteins it produces are then either transported to locations within the cell where they are needed or sent to the Golgi apparatus for further processing. The next is smooth ER. The smooth ER is responsible for manufacturing lipids, carbohydrates, metabolism, and drug or poison detoxification. Lipids are fatty acids that have different functions for energy storage as components for the cell membrane and cell signaling, like communication process with other cells. For example of the, we will make an example for the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum can be seen as the factory building where many different processes happen. Products being manufactured, packaged, stored, and eventually transported. And that is the example. Ribosomes, synthesis proteins. Those are the dots. Ribosomes are large, complex, molecular machines and occur either floating in the cytoplasm or bound to the surface of ER. Their primary function is to synthesize new proteins by reading the instruction from a messenger ribonucleic acid or RNA, which is a conversion of the genetic code, the DNA. Ribosomes consist of two subunits. The smaller subunit reads the messenger RNA instruction from DNA, while the larger subunit assembles the amino acids into chains, creating proteins. Ribosomes can be described as the employers. This is the example of it. As the employers in the factory endoplasmic reticulum. The people that are creating the actual products, they are the ones who create the products. Next is the Golgi apparatus. Packages, stores, and distribute proteins. They are the one that packages, stores, and distribute proteins. The Golgi apparatus modifies proteins and sends them to other parts of the cell. It consists of stacks of folded membranes called cisternae, which contains various enzymes for modification processes. Its main functions are to store, modify, sort, and package macromolecules, the proteins synthesized by the rough ER or endoplasmic reticulum. The Golgi apparatus can be thought of as another department of the factory, another example in which the products are prepared for shipping. Preparation includes packaging, sorting, and storing them until they get sent to distributors' shops and eventually purchased by customers. Next is the mitochondria, the energy provider. Mitochondria consists of two membranes and contains, unlike other organelles, its own DNA. Its function is to provide energy for the cell by converting sugar into ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and enzymes important for the cell's metabolism and functioning. Enzymes are specific proteins that work as catalysts, speeding up certain reactions in cell. ATP is the principal molecule for storing and transferring energy in cells. The mitochondria is similar to a power plant. Here's the example of mitochondria that will relate more of it. Mitochondria is similar to a power plant as it contains the energy for the cell, while the power plant contains the power for a whole city. When a city is getting larger, it will need more power plants to suffice the energy demand. Similarly, particular cells might need more energy, thus they might have several mitochondria. The next is lysosome, digestive and waste disposal organelles. The lysosomes are tiny, sac-like structured filled with enzymes. They function as the digestive and waste disposal organelles of the cell and enable the cell to utilize nutrients. Additionally, lysosomes also break down invading microbes and help to repair damage to the cell membrane caused by such microbes. Lastly, they destroy a cell when it dies through a process called apoptosis. Similar to a janitor whose job is to provide clean spaces, making sure that everyone can work and learn in a clean, healthy environment, the lysosomes clean up the cell, making sure that the cell stays healthy and that other organelles can do their work. That is the example. The cell membrane, border of the cell which the proteins organelles in the cell and regulates what goes inside and outside of the cell. This is the border of the cell as it physically separates the inside of the cell from the outer environment. It consists of a lipid bilayer, two layers of fatty acid molecules, embed with specialized proteins. These proteins act as a doorway into and out of the cell. That is why the cell membrane is permeable to ions and organic molecules and controls the transport of those substances into and out of the cell. It is also involved in cell adhesion, the orderly arrangement of cells due to signaling, ion conductivity or osmoregulation, and cell signaling or communication between different types of cell on how one type of cell informs another type of cells of what to do. All of these functions help the organelles inside the cell to work well. The cell membrane can be thought of as the doors of the building, such as in a school or train station. This enables the building to be functional as it controls what goes in and what goes out. Next is cytoplasm, the semi-fluid substance surrounding the organelles. The cytoplasm is everything within the cell membrane, excluding the nucleus. It is composed of cytosol and organelles. Cytosol is the semi-fluid substance that surrounds the organelles inside the cell. It acts as a cushion, protecting and supporting all the organelles inside the cell. It mostly consists of water, but also concentration gradients of ions, such as sodium and potassium, for osmosis regulation or maintaining the water concentrations, and cell signaling. Moreover, the cytosol contains complexes of enzymes for cell metabolism. In a nutshell, the cytosol acts as a medium for most chemical activities inside the cell by enabling movement of substances within the cell through a process called cytoplasmic streaming. For example, like the cytosol can be thought of as a water. Water in a lake or sea creates a suitable habitat for different organisms and microorganisms to live in. Another example is in the air in the atmosphere, as it creates the right conditions for certain organisms to live in as a result of various factors like air pressure, oxygen, protection against radiation, regulation of temperature. Similarly to cytosol, creates the right conditions for organelles to function, thus can be seen as a microclimate. And that would be all for the structures and function of the cell, of a eukaryotic cell, and I hope you understand my explanation about I talk about the eukaryotic cell.